In this video, we will explore the key differences between Dockerfile and Docker Run. We'll focus on understanding the distinction between build time instructions and runtime configurations. Dockerfiles handle the building of the image and Docker Run handles the runtime configuration. Let's dive in. A Dockerfile is a text file that contains instructions to build Docker images automatically. It serves as a blueprint for creating a Docker image, specifying the base image, working directory, files to copy, commands to run, ports to expose, and the default command to execute when the container starts. For example, the Dockerfile here uses a Python 3.9 base image, sets the working directory to /app, copies the requirements file, installs the requirements, copies the application code, exposes port 8000, and sets the command to run the app.py file. Docker Run is a command line interface command used to create and start containers with runtime configurations. It allows you to specify various options such as detached mode, port mappings, volume mounts, environment variables, and container names. Here's an example of how to use Docker Run. The Docker Run command with the -d flag runs the container in detached mode, -p flag maps the host port 8080 to the container port 8000, -v flag mounts the host data directory to the container's app data directory, -e flag sets the environment variable env_var to production, --name flag names the container myapp, and finally, my-python-app is the name of the image to use. Let's explore the key differences between Dockerfile and Docker Run. Dockerfile is used for build time configuration. It contains image creation instructions, uses layer-based building, provides reusable templates, and is version controlled. Docker Run, on the other hand, is used for runtime configuration. It uses container execution flags, sets runtime parameters, is environment-specific, and supports one-time commands. Here are some common Dockerfile instructions. From specifies the base image to use. Copy copies files from the host into the image. Run executes commands during the image build process. WORKDIR sets the working directory inside the image. Expose documents the port that the container will use. CMD specifies the default command to run when the container starts. Here are some common Docker Run flags. The -d flag runs the container in detached mode, meaning it runs in the background. -p flag maps ports between the host and the container. -v flag mounts volumes for persistent storage. -e flag sets environment variables inside the container. The double -name flag assigns a name to the container. The -it flag allocates a pseudo terminal connected to the container's standard input, creating an interactive terminal. You should use a Dockerfile in build time scenarios such as when creating custom application images. It is also used when installing packages and libraries. A Dockerfile is useful when configuring base system settings, and you want reproducible builds with version-controlled image definitions. Docker Run is best suited for runtime scenarios. Use it when starting containers with specific configurations, setting runtime environment values, mapping ports to expose services to the host network, and mounting volumes for persistent storage. Let's look at some Dockerfile versus Docker Run equivalents. In a Dockerfile, you can use the expose instruction to document which port the container will use. The equivalent in Docker Run is the -p flag, which maps the port. In a Dockerfile, you can use the env instruction to set environment variables. In Docker Run, you can use the -e flag. In a Dockerfile, you can use the WORKDIR command to set the working directory. In Docker Run, you can use the -w flag. In a Dockerfile, you can use the CMD instruction to specify the command that should be run. In Docker Run, you simply specify the command. Let's compare some best practices for Dockerfile and Docker Run. When using Dockerfile, use multi-stage builds, minimize image layers, use version control for your Docker files, and use specific base image tags. When using Docker Run, use environment-specific configurations, mount volumes for persistent data, Use meaningful container names, and limit resource usage with flags. In summary, choose Dockerfile for image building and Docker Run for container execution. During the build phase, use Dockerfile instructions to create reusable images. During the runtime phase, use Docker Run flags for environment-specific deployment. This ensures that your Docker images are well-defined and your containers are configured correctly for different environments. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit CodeLucky.com for more such useful content.